Inside the Magic, show number 410 for February 10th, 2013. It is Sunday, February 10th, 2013. This is show 410 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I'm your host, Ricky Briganti. We have another great show packed with, well, just a little bit of Disney news this week. Not a big news week, but still plenty more fun on top of that. And before we jump right into all of it, I invite you to visit our website over at InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news, articles, and plenty more. And if you ever have any news, tips, comments, questions, anything you want to send in, you can do so by emailing me at ricky@insidethemagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel at Aulani, a Disney resort and spa in Hawaii. You can enjoy many inclusive features, from entertainment to amazing water features to special activities just for kids and more. Stay 6 nights for the price of 5 at Aulani with a $150 resort credit for most nights, beginning a month ago, January 8th, and continuing still for another few days through February 15th, and then again February 19th through March 10th, all of course of this year, so you got plenty of time. Call Magical Travel today if you're interested in any of that by giving them a ring at 866-207-8387, or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price code. And be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive your free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And of course, thanks very much to listeners and viewers like you. And this week, the donation this week came in from Gray Does Matter Web Sales. So I guess there's a little plug for whatever that is. Thanks very much for your donation this week, and to everybody out there as well. And now let's get started with our trip around the world. So, yeah, as I said at the top of the show, not a whole lot of news this week. Definitely some interesting things, but it's not a... last week, it seemed like there was just endless amount of news. Lots of surprises, lots of things to talk about this week. I mean, just a little bit of stuff. So, here we go. Let's jump right into it out here at Walt Disney World with a big welcome to George Kalogridis, arriving from the Disneyland Resort. Of course, he was president out there, and now he's come out here to be the new Walt Disney World president. He's done some wonderful things over the last few years, as long as he's been out there, but he is a Central Florida native. I'm sure he's happy to be back here in Florida, and I suspect he'll be doing some great things out here. So, welcome, Mr. Kalogridis. And now let's see, over at Downtown Disney, those of you who are a fan of Splitsville, which opened, I guess 2 months ago or so, the bowling / restaurant / hangout bar, sushi, all that kind of stuff, that's now open at Downtown Disney. Well, now there's a new option for paying for that. It is now part of the Tables in Wonderland discount program. So those of you who are locals or just regulars to Walt Disney World who are enrolled in that program, you can save a bit of money because that is now part of it. And of course, it wouldn't be a week of 2013 without me mentioning limited time magic. That is the thing that we're going to be talking about every week on this show. And right now, we're kind of in a little bit of a state of flux here. Nothing particularly interesting new going on right at the moment. I mean, the true love celebration around Valentine's Day is just kicking off at the Magic Kingdom and out at Disneyland. Princes, princesses, special dinners, etc. But I talked about all that last week. You kind of know what was happening. Nothing new, nothing much of an announcement. However, just a few days ago, kind of coming off the previous week of limited time magic, was the Super Bowl week, where they were celebrating out here in Orlando at the Magic Kingdom for the Super Bowl that was last Sunday. Of course, the Ravens won, Baltimore Ravens. I'm not a big football fan, but I watched it mainly just to see the commercials, which they weren't spectacular, but watched it anyway. And anyway, so on Monday, the MVP of the Super Bowl, the quarterback of the Ravens, Joe Flacco, was at the Magic Kingdom, and Disney put on a big, sort of cavalcade parade sort of thing in his honor. Lots of Raven fans were there, and well, let's just jump on over to the Magic Kingdom to hear a few words from Mr. Joe Flacco himself and hear the excitement surrounding the arrival of the MVP of the Super Bowl to the Magic.
It's unbelievable. It's all so surreal to me still. It hasn't sunk in, but to see all these people out here just enjoying a nice vacation, to come out and see really, I think, Mickey and Minnie riding around and all that, it was pretty cool. Came here as a young kid, and then we took a senior trip here in high school, and that was a lot of fun with all my classmates, and that was 10 years ago now, so I can't believe it's been that long, but it's a great place and an awesome place to spend a little bit of time with the family.
That was a few words from the MVP of the Super Bowl, Joe Flacco, and definitely a good celebration for those of all of you who were there or just watching at home on our YouTube channel, etc., who are fans of the whole football thing. Certainly looked like Mickey Mouse was a big fan because he was there in his football getup as well. So congrats to the Ravens and all you Ravens fans out there as well. Moving on from there, we're actually going to take a step away here from Disney for a moment to talk about Universal Orlando, because their latest celebration kicked off this weekend, beginning yesterday, Saturday, February 9th. It is this year's Mardi Gras celebration, and this year it features 4 new parade floats, and of course a usual array of Cajun cooking and a concert series. The parade floats are particularly interesting this year. I like the new designs there. The theme of the floats this year, colorful cultures around the world. The floats are actually built by Blaine Curd Artists, which is the same company that designs floats for the Mardi Gras parades in New Orleans. So pretty authentic there. One of the new floats is the Elegance of India, of course inspired by Bollywood and, you know, the fabrics and dances and colors and all of that kind of thing. Elephants and, you know, all that Indian stuff. And my favorite float of the 4 new ones is definitely the Mexican Day of the Dead. Definitely some sort of Halloween Horror Nights-ish looking, but with that Mardi Gras flair to it, paying a bit of an homage to the that traditional holiday that is celebrated in Mexico. Big skeleton, colorful skulls, and bride and groom, and sugar skulls, and all that good stuff. Then there's a Chinese New Year float, which we are in the midst of right now, or the Lunar New Year, if you want to call it that. Again, very colorful, paper lanterns, and a big ornate dragon as well. And then just in general, it seems like a tribute to New Orleans itself. It's a French Quarter-style balcony on a float with some jazz musicians and, all that kind of thing. So good-looking floats this year for Universal. I am definitely impressed. I will be heading over to enjoy all of the Mardi Gras festivities. Of course, if you want to bring a little bit of that home, check our YouTube channel where we have a video from Universal Parks and Resorts executive chef Stephen Jason, as he's offering a step-by-step recipe for their jambalaya. So you can make that at home, which I love a good jambalaya, so I may have to give that a shot. Also, one more little Universal tidbit here. This one's kind of fun, and it's actually a Disney tie-in, technically. Spider-Man, which of course is a Marvel character, and Disney owns Marvel. But The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man is the ride over at Universal Orlando's Islands of Adventure, and this phone number was given out in this month's pass holder newsletter for Universal Orlando, and you can call and hear a message from old Spidey himself. I'm not going to play it here. I'll let you do it on your own. The phone number to call is 407-224-4001. And especially if you're planning on going to Universal Orlando, the message makes that much more sense. Now let's get back to Disney and head over to Disneyland, where last week here on the show I had mentioned a rumor that had just come out right before recording the show that Disneyland would begin enforcing the return times for FastPass, as Walt Disney World did several months ago, leading up to the whole FastPass Plus thing, which is still kind of in the works. Anyway, seems it has been confirmed that starting February 18th, just 8 days from now, a little over a week from now, the FastPass return times will be enforced at Disneyland. That means you can no longer grab a fast pass in the morning and then return hours and hours and hours later to, well after your fast pass is done to still use it. You have to return within that window. Now, whether or not this indicates that Disneyland is going to be getting Fast Pass Plus and the whole My Magic Plus thing, or if that's specifically to Walt Disney World and this is just sort of an operational tweak, unclear at this point. But, be aware for visiting Disneyland about that change. And this is something that actually came out, a few weeks ago, and I think I failed to mention it here on the show, but it has been confirmed that ABC Television has ordered a pilot that is directly tied into Disney's theme parks. The show is going to be called Big Thunder, of course, based on the Big Thunder Mountain roller coaster ride. The plot seems to follow a 19th century New York doctor and his family. They're moving to the frontier, and, of course, a mysterious tycoon is running the show in a mining town there, and things get a little odd. And it seems like that may tie into the new storyline out here at Walt Disney World with, they're inserting it into the interactive queue, etc. So we'll see if there is a tie-in there, if they're just completely separate. But it seems to be in the works. We'll see how well a Big Thunder show does. Now let's turn to the world of movies and Star Wars, where this week a bit of sort of surprising news came out. It seems the new trilogy, episode 7, 8, and 9, is not going to be it for new Star Wars films coming out. And we had kind of an inkling of this when Disney had, they purchased Lucasfilm, and they had come out and said, well, we plan on making episode 7, and then we'll be producing more movies every year or two after that. And they didn't specifically say it would just be 8 and 9. And I noticed that for sure. I was like, there's going to be more coming. And sure enough, it's official. There will be spin-off films, as they're calling them. At least 2 are in development right now. One is written by, or being written by Lawrence Kasdan, who's the screenwriter of The Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and co-writer of Return of the Jedi. Another is being written by Simon Kinberg, who is the writer of Sherlock Holmes and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Apparently, the first of the spin-off films is going to be released sometime after Episode 7. So Episode 7 will be the next Star Wars movie to come out, but shortly thereafter it could be something else. And these new spin-off movies are going to follow a specific character from the Star Wars universe. Possibilities have been thrown out there as perhaps a Boba Fett movie, perhaps a movie surrounding a young Han Solo, and perhaps even a movie all about Yoda. Bob Iger this week, as part of talking about Disney earnings, said, quote, "We are in development of a few standalone films that are not part of the Star Wars saga. There are now creative entities working on developing scripts for what would be those standalone films." End quote. Very vague. Not too many details yet. Disney hasn't really confirmed what exactly is going to be in there, but pretty exciting for anyone who is a Star Wars fan. And continuing along that train of thought, it has been about 4 months since Disney purchased Lucasfilm. And of course, George Lucas, the man behind it all, has now made a move to make even a few more bucks here. He has now registered for the ability to sell his 2% stake in Disney, which is going to get him about $2 billion. He is the second largest single shareholder of Disney. Of course, if he opts to sell, which it sounds like he will not be a shareholder anymore. Of course, the biggest single shareholder of Disney is the estate of the late Steve Jobs. And I'm going to wrap up the news here with, last week I read the letter from Bob Iger to Congressman Markey in a dramatic reading of sorts. This week's reading of a Bob Iger letter is not so dramatic, but it is interesting nonetheless. Disney did this week release their latest earnings report, and rather than me summarizing it, I figured, we're a little light on news this week. I might as well read Iger's own words. This was a letter he sent out to Disney employees, and it reads as follows. This afternoon, the Walt Disney Company reported our earnings for the first quarter. After another record year in 2012, we're off to a solid start for fiscal 2013. Our continued success is driven by our long-term strategy, the strength of our brands and businesses, our high-quality family entertainment, and, of course, the exceptional Disney team around the world. We've built an amazing collection of some of the world's best media brands, Disney, ESPN, ABC, Pixar, Marvel, and now Lucasfilm, that provide enormous opportunities for us to continue to create high-quality content and unparalleled experiences. With a growing number of entertainment choices, people look for the quality brands they know and love. And when they're looking for the best in sports, television, or family entertainment of any kind, hundreds of millions of people look to us. In Q1, Lucasfilm officially became part of the Walt Disney Company, and we're moving forward with the extraordinary Star Wars franchise across our portfolio of businesses. We're excited about the tremendous opportunity ahead, starting with Star Wars Episode 7, which will be in theaters in 2015. I am especially happy to have J.J. Abrams directing our first feature film in the franchise, given our long, successful relationship with J.J. during his production of ABC hits Alias and Lost, and I'm happy we're working with him again to take the Star Wars saga forward. In media networks, we've closed 7 of 10 major affiliate agreements for our cable networks, reflecting the significant value created by our array of brands and programming, from the #1 sports brand ESPN to ABC Family to our powerhouse of kids entertainment Disney Channel, Disney XD, and Disney Junior. In parks and resorts, I was in Walt Disney World last week to see the progress of our historic expansion of Fantasyland, which I'm happy to say has been extremely well received. While I was there, I had the chance to try out the incredible My Magic Plus program we'll be rolling out over the next several months to empower our guests to get more out of their time in the resort and enjoy more of what we have to offer. The product I tested was impressive and a stunning example of how we are using technology to make our products and experiences more accessible and more compelling than ever. Disney Infinity, our most ambitious gaming initiative to date, is another great example. We announced Infinity in January, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. We've created a whole new universe where players have the freedom to create stories and adventures with some of Disney and Pixar's most beloved characters for the first time ever. Our goal is to deliver an evergreen platform that will live for years to come, with a continuous stream of new games and play sets based on our tremendous portfolio of creative content. On the studio side, we're pleased with the success of the fact that I just lost my place is terrible. There we go. Continuing on. On the studio side, we're pleased with the success of Disney Animation's Wreck-It Ralph, which has been a hit at the box office and has been recognized with a Critics' Choice Award and the award from the Producers Guild of America for excellence in animation. Wreck-It Ralph is one of 3 Disney movies to earn Golden Globe and Oscar nominations for the Best Animated Film of the Year, along with Frankenweenie and Disney Pixar's Brave, which took home the Golden Globe. Looking ahead, we've got a strong, diverse slate of movies this year that we're excited about. Next month, we'll release Disney's fantastical Oz the Great and Powerful, followed by Marvel's highly anticipated Iron Man 3 in May. This summer, we're looking forward to Disney Pixar's Monsters University in June, as well as The Lone Ranger, an extraordinary action-adventure starring Johnny Depp, which opens in July. In November, we've got Marvel's Thor, The Dark World, as well as Disney Animation's next adventure, Frozen, and we'll close out the year with Saving Mr. Banks, the story behind one of our most beloved classics, Mary Poppins, with Tom Hanks as Walt Disney. We have plenty of reasons to feel good about what we've achieved in Q1 and to be confident about the rest of the year. We have brands, the creative content, and the strategy for continued success, as well as an incredible team with the talent to pull it all together and drive our company into the future. Appreciate all your dedication, unwavering commitment to excellence, and I sincerely thank you all for your hard work. Sincerely, Bob. So there you go. Sorry about that minor stumble in there. I hit enter on my keyboard and the whole screen just went wacky and I completely lost my place. That's what happens. Anyway, moving on from there, sounds like Disney's doing very well. Of course, Iger would say nothing to the contrary, but really there is a lot of exciting things going on out there. Just none of them happen to fall within this week. So that's about it for news, other than make one footnote here. It is February 10th, and even though it seems like I'm sitting in my usual studio to record Inside the Magic. For those of you watching the video version, you can certainly see that. Actually recorded this a couple of days ago, technically, because I am sitting somewhere in New York at the moment. I am at Toy Fair. First time I've ever covered this convention. Very exciting. Lots of Disney fun coming out of this convention, certainly. And if you're following on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and on the website, InsideTheMagic.net, you've probably already seen some things from Toy Fair, and there's much more to come. Some really exciting Disney events going on. And so I'll be bringing more of that to you throughout the week and certainly on next week's show. But that'll do it for news from around the world this week.
It's a secret.
Sometimes I like to dive back deep into the old Inside the Magic mailbag, or in this case, the voicemail bag, because I save just about everything that ever comes in. Emails, voicemails, everything, and I try to eventually work it onto the show. So, if you send me an email and you haven't heard it on the show, it's possible you'll hear it, 5 years from now. Case in point, here is a tip. Submitted via the old voicemail line, not even the current one, but the previous number, back on May 16th of 2006. Yeah, this is a pretty old voicemail, but the tip still applies, although you'll note one minor difference in there from when this caller called this in to today, and I'll certainly point that out right afterwards, so here we go.
Hey, Ricky and all ITMers, I just wanted to give a tip out. I worked at Disney. For half of 2000, I also did the college program. One quick tip that I was going to give was that if you wanted to, if you think the $9 price is a little too expensive for parking, well, you can always park in downtown Disney, take one of the buses over to all the parks, and therefore forego the $9 for that day. All right, thanks, and keep the podcast going.
Well, thanks for calling in that tip, 6.5 years ago. Sorry it took so long for me to share it here on the show, but like I said, I keep everything, so we'll get around to it eventually. The tip still stands, certainly, however, the price does not. It's amazing to think about the fact that parking around Walt Disney World at the parks was $9 about 6 years ago, and today it is $14 a day for regular automobiles. So, love those price increases, but regardless, definitely parking at downtown Disney, certainly still a free possibility, and you can bus from there. Of course, technically, you're probably only supposed to park at downtown Disney if you're shopping or dining there, which you probably will end up doing. Chances are if you park at downtown Disney, you go to the parks for the day, you're going to return to downtown Disney, obviously, to get your car at the end of the day. And while you're there, you're probably going to stop in a store or two, maybe grab a bite to eat, go to Gear Deli and get an ice cream, something like that. So it's a win-win for everybody. So definitely a good tip there. Everybody else, email or call in your tips, and I'll get to it sometime within the next 5 years or so, and to tips at InsideTheMagic.net. Now, this week I've got a contest winner to announce, but before we get to that, let me put in a word about Capturing Magic, the new iPhone apps that are the ultimate tool for documenting and recording the magic of your Disney vacation. Whether you're at Disneyland in California or Walt Disney World in Florida, Capturing Magic offers a helpful list of photo opportunities and memories to capture before, during, and after your trip. It's the perfect way to ensure you don't miss a magical moment while you're in the parks. The app will remind you of your desired photo opportunities that are on your list, and when you're near those locations, that's when it's saying, hey, take a picture. And whenever you take that photo, you can use the app to mark off who's in it, what camera you took it with, and then later you can easily find, export, and organize those photos. You can even email yourself a list of all the photos that you took during your trip. The Capturing Magic iPhone apps are available now in the iTunes App Store.
And now, an Inside the Magic contest.
I don't have a new contest this week, but I do have a winner to announce from last week's contest. This very well may be the last time you hear this music ever on this show. This, of course, is music from the Epic Mickey video game series, which has essentially gone kaput now that Disney has closed down Junction Point Software, as I mentioned last week on the show. And I do have some extra Epic Mickey stuff that I am now giving away. There was a T-shirt along with a couple of other items, the little clicker and the paintbrush for the Wii and all of that. And so I asked two questions, and I was going to pick a couple of winners. I guess one for the T-shirt and one for the other two items. And so the questions that I had asked before I announced those winners, the questions were pretty simple, seeing as I came up with them off the top of my head while I was doing the show last week. The question number one was Main Street USA. Of course, we know that from the theme parks, from Disneyland, Magic Kingdom, etc. What is it called in the Epic Mickey series? And of course, the correct answer there is Mean Street, not Main Street. And while I'm saying Mean Street, let's jump to the Mean Street music here, and let's listen to this for a second. Now, the reason I'm letting you enjoy a little bit of that music, because that leads right into the second question here, which was, who is the composer of the music for the Epic Mickey series? This music you're hearing right now and all the other great music from the series, and his name, James Dooley. Or Jim Dooley. Either works. So there you go. Those are your two correct answers. And I had a lot of, surprisingly, a large amount of entries, actually. It seems like a lot of you really enjoy Epic Mickey. You wanted these goodies, and based on that response, surprised Disney's not moving forward with more. But so it goes. Anyway, I've got two winners to announce. The first winner is going to be for the t-shirt, and that winner is Jeremy Shields. Congrats, Jeremy. Please email me before next week's show to confirm you've heard this, confirm your win, and email me with your mailing address. You can email the contest at InsideTheMagic or .net, or Ricky at InsideTheMagic.net. Either one is fine. Second winner of the other two little goodies, the Wii accessories, little Oswald clicker and the paintbrush, goes to Pete Morris. Congrats, Pete. Appropriate name there. Pete, of course, big character in the Epic Mickey series, so great name, great job winning the contest. Same goes for you. Email me, mailing address, and as long as I get both of your emails, I'll get your prizes out as quickly as possible. So thanks to everybody, lots of you, for entering this contest. I'll definitely be sort of continuing this trend. I've been doing more contests in the last couple of months than I have in years, and I have so much stuff to give away that's just been accumulating, so I need to keep doing this, and hopefully I'll bring back some cool stuff from Toy Fair as well, and beyond. So, yep, thanks again for playing, and congrats again to Jeremy and Pete.
Here it comes. An Inside the Magic Blu-ray review.
You may just be able to guess what the Blu-ray I will be reviewing this week is based on that music, that very, very familiar music you're hearing there. Of course, it is Peter Pan, a classic Disney film that has reached its 60th anniversary, believe it or not. That's quite the impressive amount of years there for a movie to be still so good so many years later. And not only that, but it is a Diamond Edition anniversary release on Blu-ray for the very first time. This release is fantastic. These Blu-ray releases, you never know if you're going to get one that's amazing or one that's just sort of, here's the movie on Blu-ray. That's all you get. And even then, sometimes the transfer is not great. Peter Pan looks amazing on Blu-ray. It looks like a brand new movie. It's perfectly clear. It is crisp. The colors are vibrant. It looks like a modern, contemporary movie. It's almost flawless. Very little grain. The high-definition transfer just looks beautiful, and the sound stands up as well. Of course, the film is presented in its original aspect ratio, which means anybody who's watching on a 16:9 HD TV or projector or whatever, it's going to be, a little bit in from where, you would, it's not a wide presentation, but that's good. It preserves, the history of it, preserves the full frame that it was originally intended, and that is excellent. The movie just looks wonderful, and if you're a fan of this film, that's reason enough to buy it on Blu-ray. However, there are some great Blu-ray extras to be found here. One in particular that is fantastic is a documentary called Growing Up with 9 Old Men. And this documentary alone, about 45 minutes long or so, is worth the purchase price of this release alone. This could have been released if it was a little bit longer, could have been released by on its own. Filmmaker and son of famed Disney animator Frank Thomas, Ted Thomas, is the one who made this short film, essentially, and it seeks out He sought out the 9 Old Men, of course, the famous group of Disney animators that worked on so many classic Disney films. Bambi, Pinocchio, of course, Peter Pan, to name just a small few. Most of them had children. 2 of them didn't have children, but the other 9 Old Men did have children. And so Ted Thomas, one of those children, went and interviewed and talked to all of the other children from these, well, the 7 Old Men, and just recounting what it was like growing up with these men as their fathers. You know, how were their lives, what were the special things that they got to do, or just, you know, what were the guys like when they weren't animating, what else did they do in their lives, what were their, you know, hobbies other than, you know, being a Disney animator. And it's just fascinating. It's wonderful to hear about you know, these guys who have created so, you know, many classic characters and scenes and moments that everybody loves from these amazing Disney films, and then to hear the other side of what these guys were like, you know, Ollie Johnston, Ward Kimball, etc., etc. It's just an amazing group of men, and their talents stretched even far and beyond their Disney animation, and the whole thing wraps up with a wonderfully touching and great moment that I'm not going to ruin it here. You just got to see it. Get this Peter Pan release if for nothing else, for this Growing Up with 9 Old Men documentary. It's just phenomenal. In addition to that, the other extras, there's Disney Intermission, which is something Disney's been doing more and more recently, and it basically hit pause in the movie and special extra scenes come up. Instead of just looking at a still frame, you get to see these extra. There's even some games and, you know, voiceovers and animation and all of it. That's a whole lot of fun as well. For those of you who don't like the black bars on the left and right of the screen when, you know, like I said, it doesn't fill the whole screen in this movie, there's Disney View, which I personally find very distracting. They add artwork that kind of matches the scene on the left-right, covering up those black bars, and, you know, it might work for some of you, but I didn't particularly like it. There are 2 deleted songs included on the Blu-ray as new features, with storyboards accompanying them, sort of animation, this really clever use of animated words, and one of them is Never Smile at a Crocodile, which you were just hearing that playing guitar version just a minute ago, and there's another song as well, and it's just fun to watch sort of those songs that didn't make it into the film completely, and you know, what they could have been, what those sequences could have been as well. There's also an introduction to the film by Walt's daughter, Diane Disney Miller, at her Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco, and it also inherited a bunch of classic features from the, you know, old DVD releases as well. But this Peter Pan Diamond Edition release, wonderful. Definitely worth a purchase, certainly for the Peter Pan movie. Great movie, of course, but this Growing Up with 9 Old Men short film documentary is just wonderful. For any Disney fan out there, you really got to go get this one. Of course, it is available now. It came out just this past Tuesday, so go pick it up. You won't regret it. And now, before we jump into another main feature here on the show, let me put in a quick word about Lanyard Lab. This is the place you want to go, a website actually, lanyardlab.com. If you want to customize a lanyard for use at a convention, a school, church, really any organization where you need a name tag, ID card around your neck, you can customize the lanyard that you wear it on. Go to lanyardlab.com, click a quote, get a quote that is, and fill out all your information, the text or graphics, logos, colors, anything you want to see on the lanyard. Submit that on over to us. We'll email you back with a price quote along the proof showing you what the lanyards will look like. All of that is free to do. There's no obligation to purchase whatsoever. But if you do like what you see, you can then just easily buy it online, and we'll produce them and get them to you. So check it out over at lanyardlab.com. That's LANYARDLAB.com. Now, with very little Disney happenings going on this week, I thought we would take a journey, step away from Disney actually here for a little bit, and talk about a really great exhibit that has opened up over at downtown Orlando. This is second in, I guess you could call it a series now, of exhibits that the Orange County Regional History Center, which is a great place in downtown Orlando to hear see the history of what Central Florida has been. If you've never been there, I definitely recommend going and just kind of touring through it all from, you know, the old swamps years ago, what Central Florida used to be, all the way through the building up of not only the theme parks, but everything that built up in Orlando since the theme parks moved in. It's a really definitely a fascinating place with a lot of history to it. Obviously, it's a history center. But lately, over the last year or two or so, I guess over the last couple of years, they've been working with Universal Orlando to develop really special exhibits there. There was one, it was either last year or the year before, that was great. It had a really in-depth look at sort of the creative process at Universal. But this time around, they wanted to take that and spin it a little bit and make it more of a chance for anybody who mostly targeted towards younger audiences to develop their understanding of, you know, how do you get into this field? What does it mean to be in the field of developing, you know, theme park entertainment, and you know, what jobs are available, and sort of illustrating that along the way. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you all about this exhibit. It is really a fascinating look for anybody, whether you're, you know, a fan of Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, you know, wherever. It doesn't matter if you're a fan of music parks, theme parks. It's all kind of the same idea, this designing of parks, and what does that mean, especially the entertainment and the seasonal entertainment is really what it focuses on here for Universal. But I'm not the guy to tell you all about that. Instead, I'm going to turn all the attention over to somebody who has been with Universal for so very, very long, and he took the time to walk me step by step throughout this whole exhibit and really offer a lot of his insight into not only what is there in the exhibit, but sort of taking a step back and looking at, you know, what does it mean to be a theme park designer, and you know, how do you get into a position like that? So now I want to take you over to the Orange County Regional History Center in downtown Orlando to learn a bit about designing seasonal entertainment at Universal Orlando.
My name's TJ Mannarino. I'm the Director of Art and Design for Universal Orlando Resort.
We're here at the Orange County Regional History Center for a new exhibit all about the Universal Orlando Resort. What's it called? And you know, give me an overview of what it's all about.
The title is A Year in the Life of From Backstage to Onstage for Universal Orlando Resorts. The exhibit encompasses Universal Entertainment's division's annual events that we produce and design year-round, from Mardi Gras to the wonderful holiday stuff from Macy's to Mannheim Steamroller to the popular favorites, Halloween Horror Nights, and also our summer spectaculars, that the Cinematic Spectacular and the Superstar Parade. The event or the exhibit actually encompasses how we go through those processes, and is meant to educate and inspire that next generation of artists or designers, technicians, performers, to learn a little bit about what it takes to do these events, and what it would maybe hopefully get somebody excited about saying this might be something I want to do as a career.
So it's less about the rides that are permanently in the parks and more about the ongoing changing aspects of what goes on at Universal every year.
Yeah, we look at, with being the History Center, it focuses a lot on history that is built and maintained and actually created here in Central Florida. Well, a lot of the exhibits, not the exhibits, but actually the events, have actually been wonderful creations that came out of Central Florida from the design group. And at the same time, we're always excited about how every year everybody kind of almost marks their seasons by what's going on in the parks. From Halloween Horror Nights being the fall to, you know, Macy's during the Christmas time of the year. So for us, it was all about how do we take these elements and make them, you know, informational for either the students or for the fan to say, what does it take and the different types of people it takes to produce these events.
Great. Well, let's take a walk through and see some of the areas.
Yeah, you know, in this kind of stage is a little bit of a transition that kind of says, you know, when you start kind of with the raw wood or the raw design, and it actually then comes to life and becomes this highly detailed, highly kind of fun type of experience. And that's kind of what we feel at Universal Orlando, a lot of what we create, it really becomes.
Is this set of doors here from an actual something at Universal?
This is not an actual design but it is inspired from some designs that never actually got built for Halloween Horror Nights, probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
A little peek behind the scenes of what may have been.
Yes, true. In each area you have a video tour guide that takes you on a path that kind of tells you what the exhibit that you've either come in contact with or what's maybe ahead of you. This kind of breaks up in 2 sections. We kind of take and we kind of expand a little bit on the history that Universal Orlando's events have kind of come through. For 22 years, we've grown from Halloween Horror Nights being a one-night event to multiple nights, to the Macy's events, which was already into probably close to over 10 years old right now. But at the same time that we talk about the events, we talk about the growth of the park. And that also encompasses kind of the growth of what we have been doing here in Central Florida. From an area of the park that really was just and a vacant area that now lives and breathes Halloween Horror Nights and Macy's and all the other wonderful attractions that Universal Orlando has, to some of the years where we had major expansions to the second park of Islands of Adventure, to where we live today with all of the wonderful attractions and shows.
And being here at the History Center, it is an important part of Central Florida history to have, you think, okay, it's a theme park, it's fun, et cetera, but it's been a huge growth for the area to have Universal and Disney and everything else. I mean, without that, what really would the Orlando area be?
Well, it's interesting because the wonderful partnership with us in the History Center is that with a lot of their other exhibits, they kind of show what Central Florida used to be like before the park shut up, and then what kind of the parks have actually done to transform Central Florida. And a lot of the basically the partnership between us and the History Center to build this exhibit was to show that a lot of these wonderful elements, these events, these things actually happen here in Central Florida, and they affect the globe. One of the elements here in the history section shows that Halloween Horror Nights was a place that was built here in Central Florida. It's now seen in 4 of our parks. It's seen in Singapore, Japan, Hollywood, and definitely here where it created in Universal Orlando.
And you're looking at the very early days of Horror Nights here. How has that event evolved as visitors come here and look at these old posters, and then they go to Horror Nights later this year? Yeah. What kind of difference are they going to see?
Well, the wonderful thing about Halloween and a lot of the other events that we showcase in this attraction is that they started very small. They started with mostly an excitement and a need that our audience wanted to see something bigger and new to the parks. So with Halloween, it started with only 1 night and 1 haunted house. Now we're up to 25 nights, which was last year, and we had 7 haunted houses. So it just shows you the span of how the events can grow and expand over multiple nights, multiple attractions. And like anything, Halloween and these other events, they keep growing much like the interest is. So for us, it's always new and something different for next year. The next section that we come in contact with here is actually the process. As much as we've learned the history and all the different types of events that we've produced, there's always goes through the same process. And we broke it down into 3 simple steps. Again, for people who maybe have never seen or are aware with some of the process techniques from either entertainment field, we broke it down into 3 steps, which is the concept phase, the development phase, and the production phase. And in each of these phases, we kind of give you the opportunity to explore a little bit more of the detail, some of the wonderful visuals in the way of sketches, drawings, concept drawings aspects, and a little video snippet that kind of shows people actually doing the work. The big focus here is on the educational piece. Multiple kids come to here from Orange County, and this is a place that we're really focused on giving them a chance to kind of look at something that they might not be aware of that is here in Central Florida. They might not also be aware that it only takes these types of talents to do these types of wonderful shows. And if they can get inspired by that and look at becoming maybe the next designer for Halloween Horror Nights or those next float performer for the Superstar Parade, that's our goal, hopefully.
That is a question that gets asked a lot. For high school and college kids, how do I become that guy who designs the parade or the next ride or whatever? And this kind of gives a little bit of insight into that.
Yeah, that's what this mostly was focused on. When we sat down to partner with the Orange County History Center, our main focus was to inspire the next generation, really to help educate people outside of the industry on what it takes to produce these events and how they're produced here in Central Florida. Most people assume that most of this stuff is either done in kind of the big meccas of entertainment from New York or California, but surprisingly, Orlando has a huge, healthy community of designers, architects, engineers that work on these wonderful attractions and shows, and they all live here in Central Florida. And so to help actually get the youth groups, the school kids, all of those, what we call the next generation of designers and engineers, informed and educated on what is available here in their home, and actually get them inspired to become those next, designers, is what we all sat down to say this is what this exhibit should all be about.
And you're in the midst of that right now as a designer. It's early January and you're already looking ahead to, what, October for Horror Nights and then some?
Yeah, actually, this is a piece that kind of defines that. This is something that the History Center put together to kind of define the work that happens year-round. And by taking that snippet of a year in the life, we wanted to show people that at any given time within the year, we're working on multiple different projects in the different phases, from designing to installing to producing. And this kind of gives you kind of a nice visual timeline of that. It takes you through the months of the year, and it takes you through the phases of the productions, from operating an event to installing to actually the design development. And if you looked at right now in January, we are truly developing Halloween Horror Nights right now. We're actually, most of the summer events have actually been put away. The holidays has also been put away right now, but we're actually just in the midst of actually installing and getting ready to open Mardi Gras. So that is what this event is focused on right now, to show you kind of the inner workings of Mardi Gras for this season.
Excellent. And in this concept phase, clearly there's a lot of artwork. I noticed these flip books or design books over in the corner. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
This was something that the History Center loved, to be able to kind of show a little bit of the concept process and what it takes in the way of illustrating some of your ideals, from drawings to actually a little bit more highline drawings, from architecture, from AutoCAD to SketchUps. And they felt this was a great way for people to physically actually kind of flip through the different designs. And again, as you can see, we have step stools here to actually help get some of the smaller guests to be able to get up and look at these objects too. So we want to get them excited about this whole aspect of creating imagination.
Because nothing says imagination like Psycho.
Exactly. We took 3 of the different, alcoves of architecture this year and gave the 3 separate steps. Subliminally, the colors also represent the colors of our logo in the seasons. From the purple, lavender, kind of tells us the spring season, to the green, which is down here, takes you to the summer season, to this fall color of autumn or yellow, and then back into the winter, which is blue. So each of the plays kind of gives you almost a calendar timeline of different events that happen within the year. At the same time, we kind of pull out elements that are kind of all year round that you can see, kind of explore and interject with. Here's a fun interactive piece in here. Most everybody that comes in contact with Halloween sees it from what we call the show side or the guest side. But to take a step behind the curtain, you can kind of come in here, and these show you ground plans of a haunted house. But this actually details a lighting plot. So all the different lighting elements for a haunted house that we did a few years back, we can kind of give you those details. At the same time, if you kind of flip through these, you can pull out this one, which focuses on special effects. Some of the air effects that are indicated, to different types of maybe smoke or atmosphere effects. So we thought it would be fun again for our audience to kind of look at these things and realize that you don't have to be a full engineer to design special effects. You don't have to be highly technical to do lighting. A lot of it is just capturing the right mood, the right atmosphere, and hopefully these things give our audience that next step of thinking that, what, I can do that. That is something that I would actually enjoy doing as a career.
So moving from the previous concept phase into development, that's what that means, is to sort of flesh out the idea once you've decided on it.
Yes, exactly. As we step into the production phase, this is where, from the elements of concept to development, and now we've, as you said, figured out how we want to make actual things come to life. This is when we actually go into producing those pieces, from the actual elements of designing and building the costumes to actually creating some of the technical elements that we show over here, which is the creations of the summertime summer spectacular, actually getting the architecture built on the barges, to actually installing all the lighting rigs and the water rigs for those things. And then we have videos that represent some of that actual production work happening.
Of course, everyone is immediately drawn to the corner where we were looking at it. It seems it's Blood Day over at Horror Nights.
Yes, it is. Yes, and that is something that, as much as sometimes people ask the big questions, how do you make a huge float, and how do you make wonderful prosthetics? The simple is well, what do you do, and what you use for blood in a haunted house? And that's some of the fun little details that we've given you here.
And I imagine that is a rather fun day.
Yes, it is.
Tell me a little bit about the process here, about the life cast to molds, etc.
Well, this one was, again, for us to give our audience the ability to understand how we create characters and what is that process. You see a little bit of it in the small video piece here. There is a little descriptive, but this is a little fun pieces for people to actually touch these pieces and see what they feel like. Because most of the time, so again, some of our smaller audience have never come in contact with these types of products before, and getting them excited about that. And our experience has been is that when we are able to do any types of lectures to schools, they're very much excited about this element of what we are able to do here in Central Florida. And what you find is that it's kind of it's not real, well, I would say not real popular, but it's not really visual, in that most people don't know these processes because they don't come in contact with them on any daily basis. I mean, if you do lighting, And if you do drawing, people see that, I think, within their school environments. But prosthetics and sculpting is a little bit different. So this is kind of almost opening an eye sometime to an area that really is somewhat forgotten or not seen.
And it is big in Central Florida. You know, the very popular show on Sci-Fi Face Off has been going very much into this aspect of design. And I've noticed a lot of people have come out of Orlando on that show, even specifically working with Universal.
Yeah, actually, I think in all of the seasons so far, there's always been a representative from Universal Orlando who's either worked with us and gone onto the show and stuff like that. So it's been great, yeah, and it's interesting. I just finished doing a small interaction with some school groups, and as we talked to them about prosthetics, we asked all of them, are they familiar with the show Face Off? And everybody in the audience said, oh, yes, yes, yes. So it's definitely got a great following, definitely a different age group, too.
And then you can come here and get hands-on.
There you go, exactly. And at this point, you're kind of taking you through the various phases of the attraction. We wanted to kind of give you a history of where we came from. We wanted to kind of show you the process of what it takes to produce it. And then this was the thought of actually now put you in the element of the show. So if you were happen to be a guest or somebody who's never been to any of these shows, seasonal shows, this was a kind of a chance to kind of immerse yourself in those elements. So in here we have actual costumes from the Mardi Gras show, from actual props from the Blaine Kern Studios. We give you some video elements that kind of show you the show itself. And then you can have some interactive pieces over here that you can actually have fun with. This is a little fun one over here, which is you can be your own costume designer or character designer, where you can take the elements and create a character that definitely has been seen in one of our wonderful events. This was a Boy Blue character we created for the Macy's parade, actually quite a few years back. But as you can see, you could have fun and create your own characters if you want. But as much as, again, you can see this is simplified for our younger audience to be inspired or excited about the aspects of creating characters, which we do a lot. And then if you're not sure about what the characters are supposed to look like, we kind of give you a little key on what that is. So, a lot of fun. I saw a lot of people the other night having a lot of fun with this too. And then over here, this kind of gives you, like I said, a brief history, a little bit of our partnership with Kern and where we've been. This is a little bit of a motif that will actually change seasonally too. It actually, as we keep building seasons on it, you'll be able to change seasons. So as we add the next season of summer, you'll be able to actually go between spring and summer. And it is kind of as a backlot of our park. And at that time, you're able to kind of take it, see how the park transforms itself from season to season. You'll be able to do it kind of visually with some video techniques and interaction.
That projection is just begging for acid assault to make a return.
Yeah, you might see that in the fall.
but this whole room is going to change seasonally,
yeah,
and we'll see.
This whole room will be completely changed, swapped out, and this happens, like I said, every 3 months, basically on the quarters. And this will be then rethemed for our summer experiences, which will be the Superstar Parade and the Cinematic Spectacular.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then it all wraps up with a look at all the different jobs that are a possibility at Universal?
Yes, because the biggest focus, again, as we started, was to kind of, again, inform people a little bit of the history and what actually has really grown here in Central Florida. But at the same time is to give that educational piece of what does it take, all the different types of people and different types of talents that we use and bring to life at Universal Orlando to take all these wonderful events and actually make them real. And this is kind of what we call the jobs wall, where you actually can kind of see where you fit in, what interests you might have, what area you might feel that maybe you weren't sure of, but we can kind of detail it here. Of that simple aspects of it is that it takes many people, and we even say here, it takes even a lot more than we've showcased here. This is just a few highlights. And our hope is that we might be able to bring in these various areas of our business for people to actually talk to and interact with over the year, too.
And I noticed you even make a special appearance over in the Art of Tomorrow wall.
Well, yeah, that's another program that is kind of in partnership with this one, which is the Art of Tomorrow is a special program that we've actually been working with Orange County Public Schools on. And it actually is a wonderful partnership that is actually the first year. We're going to grow this for multiple years. And we have one school that's called Memorial Middle School. And we're actually partner with them to kind of take what we've done here in the museum, but take it actually into the schools and into the classrooms, where we have actually now basically adopted an 8th grade class. Basically, it's mostly the students at middle school, Memorial Middle, and they've actually been interacting with us, and we've been educating them and informing them on what is the different career opportunities in the entertainment industry. And they've had a chance to come out to Universal and see some of it actually happening in real time. And they've actually had a chance to kind of interact with different types of elements of what we do. And that's what's kind of showcased here. This was mostly photographs of them coming out, and we showed them a little bit of Mardi Gras designs. And we had to actually, they got a chance to draw, hand draw. They actually got a chance to work on some of the computers, work with some of the actual designers, and it was highly, I think, productive, because this was the end of the day shot, and they were still excited and wanted to do more. So that's a great program. You'll probably hear and see more of it as we get through the rest of the year.
Good. That's something I would have loved to have done in school. You know, I'm obviously very excited about this whole sort of thing, and I've never been really hands-on with it, sort of just looking from afar, but to have a chance at that young age to really get in there, I'm sure you've seen a lot of them come up to you and say, this is what I want to do.
Well, that's what we feel is the huge benefit of this type of program and this experience, is that if we can inspire even just one student to say, that's what I want to do, it definitely takes us to the next level of what we wanted this to be. A place for people to kind of say, you know what, I never knew I had an interest in this until I saw this exhibit, or I was a part of the Art of Tomorrow program. And for them to actually then start to get excited about education, get excited about staying in school and continuing their career path that they maybe never knew until that moment, is what we feel is really is the goal, and what we feel is going to be the product, hopefully, afterwards when this is done.
And for those who are interested, maybe can't make it out to this exhibit, maybe can't get hands-on, what recommendation would you have for them as far as pursuing a school path or even taking on their own endeavors?
Well, we always say it always starts with a passion. Once you start to identify your passion and find what you have interest and likes, you definitely follow those pieces. And we try to do that here. We try to give you so many different aspects of what it takes to produce just a single event. There's so many different ways that you can follow your interest and your excitement. The other thing that I say, and I'll even use your website and your wonderful ways that you cover this, is go to Inside Magic. You know, is that you cover wonderful things that happen in the industry. And even though you can't be there, searching those things out, finding more about them, researching them, you know, and at the same point, from afar, you can still be somewhat, you know, a fan at the same time, even an audience member of it.
And coming up soon will be another entertainment designer forum where folks can get together and actually talk to you and others?
Yes, actually, it's we do every year entertainment design forum. To my understanding, I think we have something slated for the first week of March. We'll get more information and details on it as it goes out. It's actually going to be here in the History Center also. And we'll bring all the different industry you know, designers and people together from all different brands. So you'll have people from Disney, from SeaWorld, from Busch Gardens, from Universal, all coming together for this single English interest, is to talk about the industry and the excitement elements of what's happening now and where it's been.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky. Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
And I do want to thank TJ Mannarino from Universal Orlando for taking the time to walk us through that exhibit. Definitely head out to the History Center out there to check it out. It's ongoing for a year, as we were saying. Going to be updated 3 times as the seasons move on. Summer and then Halloween Horror Nights, of course, my favorite time, and then Christmas after that. Of course, it feels right now that we just came off of Christmas, so to think that far ahead is a little bit odd, but it will sneak up on us, I'm sure, and I'll definitely be going back to see all of the updates. Of course, you can head on over to InsideTheMagic.net to see photos, and those of you who are watching the video version of the show just saw a walkthrough there of the exhibit with TJ, but also sort of a greater summary of it is available as well on our YouTube channel. So now, with all of that said, let's do a little listener feedback here to wrap up this week's show. First up is an email from Bruce from Brooklyn, who writes, concerning the great debate if a guest staying on property should make use of Disney transportation or drive a car, I have this advice. If on a daily basis for work you're used to driving your own car, then you should consider renting a car. However, if you live in a large city like New York, where they don't have a large, where they do have a large mass transit system, and are used to taking the train, I doubt you will mind waiting for a Disney bus. I would also like to remind listeners that even if they have a rental car going to the Magic Kingdom, I would still take the Disney transportation. Remember, you have to park by the Ticket and Transportation Center, Transportation Ticket Center, and take the ferry or the monorail to the Magic Kingdom, while a resort bus just drops you off at the Magic Kingdom. Bruce, good points there. You're right. I live somewhere where driving is the only way to get around. I mean, yeah, there's public transportation around Orlando, but it's not great. And so, yeah, if I were to try to take a bus around here, it wouldn't be, the best, most speedy experience, I guess you should say. And the same, in my opinion, from my perspective, is true. But if you're used to that kind of thing, waiting for a bus, waiting for a train, subway, whatever, then maybe you won't mind it so much at Disney. So good point there. Next up, an email from David who writes, I was very interested when you and Skipper Ben brought up the possible idea for an entire Star Wars area at Hollywood Studios. It's something I've been thinking of ever since Disney bought out Lucas, and I've come up with a few ideas of my own. I've had a lot of difficulty coming up with ideas for rides, mainly because Star Tours utilizes most possible ideas, pod racing, Death Star fight, etc. While the addition of Star Wars rides and a scene to great movie ride is an interesting thought, I've thought of the possibility of having the Mos Eisley Cantina as a restaurant. Even if it's a quick service location, I think the idea is a great one. They could even make it similar to Rainforest Cafe, and instead of animals going crazy, you hear lasers being shot and a Wilhelm scream here and there. And another possibility would be to have an animatronic cantina band like at Cosmic Ray's Starlight Cafe at the Magic Kingdom. David, yes, absolutely, you're right. That needs to happen. In fact, I've heard rumors that, somewhere out there they might consider remaking that Backlot Express, counter service locations over by Star Tours, just to the left of Star Tours, into something like the Cantina. That would certainly be a great place for it. Whether or not that's going to happen, we shall see. Next email from Timothy is as follows. I was wondering if there's a possibility of them bringing back old parades and fireworks for limited time magic. For example, Epcot could bring back the Tapestry of Dreams, or Hollywood Studios could do Sorcery in the Sky for a few weeks. There are also things like the MGM Stars and Motorcars Parade, Dreams Come True Parade, the Old Fantasy in the Sky, and Illuminations 25. Same thing with Disneyland. I noticed Disneyland tends to go through their parades and fireworks shows pretty fast compared to Walt Disney World, and it would be cool to see some of the old things revived, even if it was just like a different show and parade each day for a week. Timothy, yeah, I think there is a strong possibility there. Disney certainly has brought back a few of those things. Fantasy in the Sky, fireworks is something that does come back at Walt Disney World for those ultra-crowded moments like, New Year's, 4th of July kind of thing. Then, let's see, Sorcery in the Sky over at Hollywood Studios. There have been fireworks there on and off again with those nights and other special occasions over the last few years. Certainly a possibility there. Tapestry of Dreams, those things are floating around out there somewhere. They could certainly bring that back temporarily, or at least a version of it for Epcot. Unfortunately, I've learned in wondering the exact same thing recently, the Stars and Motorcars, not in this country. Apparently those went over to Paris. So that's probably not going to happen. But Illuminations, an old version of that would be fun, as well as some old Disneyland shows. So, that would be a great use of limited time magic. Whether it's going to happen or not, as I said in the last email, we shall see. Next, an email from Kenny, who writes, I'd just like to chime in on some information on the college program that was briefly discussed in previous episodes. I'm a college student and completed my college program as a safari driver in Animal Kingdom during my freshman year, but was able to remain a part-time student while in Orlando. In addition to talking to financial aid people at school, I would suggest talking to someone in career services or anything along those lines at the given university. They helped me get set up through a co-op program. I'm not sure how other universities or colleges work, but through mine, all I had to do was 2 courses that Disney offers to those students on the college program. I was also able to, not required, take an online course and was still able to obtain 4 credits while on my college program. Kenny, excellent advice there. I didn't know you could kind of do that simultaneous thing, and that sounds pretty good. Next email is from Trey, who writes, I wanted to know if you've heard any news on Princess Fairy Tale Hall. My little sister adores the princesses, and I want to know if they will be in their new home by the time we go back to Disney World this summer. Trey, really hard to say what's going on behind the construction walls there over in the former location of Snow White's Scary Adventures in, the Fantasyland area. Of course, out here at Walt Disney World, Disney has not announced an opening date for Princess Fairy Tale Hall. It's conceivable that it would potentially be open by the time you get out here in summer, but I wouldn't necessarily count on it. It really is. There's been no indication as to a month, a week, a day, or anything like that. It's it's on the way, but unfortunately I can't say anything more specific. Here's a fun little email. I don't know why it's little. It's actually not little, but it is a fun email nevertheless, and it comes in from Cor in the Netherlands. And it reads, as a longtime follower of your show, I was surprised to see a fellow Dutchman on your site. You posted an item on Fantasy Fair. In the video was Imagineer Michel den Dolk. His style that he used in the drawings for Fantasy Fair are similar to the work that he made for the Europa Park, and he sent me some links to that artwork. Also, in the same week that Tony Baxter steps down, one of his proteges, Tony Baxter called Michel Dendolk himself, according to Michel on Dutch radio in spring 2010, presents the progression in the Fantasy Fair. Very interesting. I didn't know that this Imagineer had a history of designing European parks, and also that it was Tony Baxter who sort of hand-selected him to join Imagineering, but certainly an interesting little connection there. So thanks for that email. Let's do a couple of more emails and then wrap this up. Next up is from Helen, who writes, I've been going to Walt Disney World every year with my family, so I know it very well. But because you live in Florida and go there often, you obviously have developed favorites. What is your favorite hotel, restaurant, ride, movie, park, etc.? I would love to know. And Helen is 15 from Maine. Helen, this is always a tricky question. I hate picking favorites. There's so many good things at Walt Disney World that it is so tough. But it's no secret that my favorite ride is the Haunted Mansion. By far, it's an easy one for me to answer. Favorite park, I would say Disneyland Park out in California. Favorite hotel, I really love the Grand Californian in California, obviously. A great hotel, but, Disneyland Hotel ever since the renovation, very, very close. Great hotel there. Animal Kingdom Lodge out here. Of course, I'm rattling off some of the most expensive Disney hotels. Naturally, of course, those are going to be the best. Although, Art of Animation, it's a little pricier than the other value resorts. Art of Animation is a great place to walk around. Rooms aren't necessarily the most comfortable, but a lot of fun things to look at there. I could just go on and on. There's so many good things about Disney hotels to enjoy. Favorite restaurant, I always go straight to Boma at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, though there are so many that come very close, especially a newcomer, Carthay Circle restaurant out at Disney California Adventure. Love it. I want to go back as soon as I finish eating there. It is amazing. It is a little expensive, and I couldn't eat there every night, certainly, but every once in a while on those special occasion trips, it is wonderful. And movie, I don't know that I could pick a favorite movie. It's a real tough one. Assuming you're talking about Disney movies, I grew up watching Aladdin and The Little Mermaid. That kind of hit me at the right age range, so I definitely have a fond place in my heart for those two. But there have been so many great Disney movies over the years that I'm not even sure I could call those certainly my favorites. So anyway, there's a little insight as to my own preferences. One more email from Ruth. She writes, I have a friend that claims that he was at Walt Disney World back in the early 2000s and saw men with goatees. He also claims that back in the 1980s, he saw men with mustaches. I told him that my son-in-law didn't get a job at Disneyland because his earlobes were stretched. He told me that if he could shrink them down to where they couldn't be seen, though, he could be hired, and he couldn't get one side small enough. I told my friend that about 4 months ago, he was at Walt Disney World, and I saw about 3 or 4 people with their earlobes stretched, but they had plugs. My son-in-law was told he could not wear plugs. Is my friend right, or am I? Interesting series of observations there, Ruth. The Disney look is pretty specific as far as what can and cannot be done. It was big news recently over the last couple of years when Disney started allowing more facial hair. Mustaches, however, have been allowed for a very long time. It's the beards that were introduced recently. So, there's definitely, I don't know that you would have seen men working at Walt Disney World with goatees back in the early 2000s, because that kind of came out recently, but certainly mustaches then. As far as the ear plugs and gauges and all of that kind of stuff, no. Cast member, that's not going to happen. I don't know if Universal allows that. I don't think so. Maybe it was a Six Flags park. I'm not sure, but no, you're not going to find that on cast member. Of course, there are some exceptions. Imagineers tend to not follow the Disney look. The obvious example to go to is Joe Rohde. He's famous for having that large earring that he wears always whenever you see him. It's, a good several inches long, dangling from one of his ears, and your average cast member's not going to get away with that. But Imagineers are a special breed, so they get to do things that everybody else doesn't necessarily, because they're not on stage, they're behind the scenes. So there you go, and that'll do it for listener feedback this week.
Tomorrow
here we are at the end of show 410. An odd week. There's not usually weeks where there's not really, really exciting news or big news or lots of news. This was kind of just it's a week. It happens occasionally, but hopefully you enjoyed that tour through the special exhibit over at the Orange County Regional History Center, focusing on Universal Orlando. I really enjoyed walking through there. Looking forward to the updates there, and you can, of course, head on over to InsideTheMagic.net for even more from that exhibit if you are also interested. And definitely pick up that Peter Pan Blu-ray. It is just great. I mean, Peter Pan, can't go wrong there. And then you get a great documentary on top of that, and it is just wonderful. So as I said, I'm in the midst of Toy Fair right now. I'm sure I will come back with a lot of surprises, a lot of really fun things. Whether you are a big fan of Disney merchandise and toys or not, I have a feeling on next week's show for 11 there will be some really exciting things for me to share. So come back for that. In the meantime, I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com. Don't forget to check out those Capturing Magic iPhone apps as well for Disneyland and Walt Disney World. Search for them over in the iTunes store and organize your photo-taking experience around the park. Also, visit us over at lanyardlab.com to see all the different styles and custom lanyard options that we have available. You can request a price quote today to receive a free preview of your lanyard design. And of course, InsideTheMagic.net is our website. It is your source for Disney and theme park news. Between episodes of this show, you can find all of our videos and photos and news and articles and all that. And of course, find us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube as well. Just add /InsideTheMagic to any of those services. So thanks to all of you for listening and for watching each and every week. Have a magical week. Bye.
Come true for you and me, so there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow just